Hi YouTube, I'm Peggy Lou Who, and this is my channel, Peggy Lou Who Reads, or Peggy Lou Who Reads. Welcome if you are new here, welcome back if you are not. Hi Mom! Big shout out and thank you to my subscribers. I appreciate you so much. If you are watching and you're not yet subscribed, please reconsider your life choices. The subscription button is down below. You can also select all notifications so that you will always be reminded every time that I post a new video. Today, as the title suggests, I want to talk about a horrible event. I want to talk about a horrible event that happened, a tragedy. I DNF'd my favorite book. So those of you who may be new here, welcome to BookTube. DNF means did not finish. It's usually how we talk about books that we decide are not for us and we do not make it all the way to the end. Occasionally, some folks may consider a book that they get to the middle of and they just decide that they're going to pause and maybe come back to later. Some folks would call that a soft DNF as opposed to a hard DNF where you're just like, oh hell no, done. And some folks, myself included, call that something else when you decide to like put a book on the back burner. In fact, I literally call it on the back burner. Emily from Books with Emily Fox calls it her pile of shame, where she gets to a middle of a book and she doesn't finish it, and so she keeps all of those books in a pile, and then once a year she'll go back and try and reread some of them, and she sometimes decides like, oh yeah, no, I really meant to quit that, and goes ahead and quits it. So today, when I say I DNF'd my favorite book, I mean I quit it. I hard quit it. I noped the fuck out. How does that happen? First, before we get into that, I should probably mention what my favorite book is. My favorite book is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. It is so my favorite book that I own 3 copies of this book. I have a paperback, and my original copy that I ever owned was a paperback, but this isn't it because I loaned that book out to someone who I now never want to see again, and I replaced it, even though I also had these 2 editions. So this one is a first edition hardback that I bought at a used bookstore, and this one was a special edition that I bought secondhand as well. And I probably paid too much money for it, if I'm being perfectly honest. The Night Circus is so my favorite book that I have a Night Circus scarf. It's kind of hard to tell right now with this lighting, but this is a story art scarf that has the print of part of the story. I also have the Night Circus writing gloves. I have Night Circus socks. I have a Night Circus t-shirt. I have Night Circus stickers. I have a Night Circus enamel pen. I have a lot of Night Circus memorabilia. I love this book. And so why I love this book? I love this book because I love the setting. I love the magic circus that is described. Le Cirque de Rez is a place that I wish I could visit. I wish I could put myself into the book just so that I can go to the Night Circus. The Night Circus is a story about 2 magicians that are raised and trained to compete against one another, and the venue for their competition is this magical circus that opens at dusk and it stays open all night and closes at dawn. The circus is run on magic and is full of all kinds of sights and sounds and smells that are all augmented or created with magic. I just love the description of this place. Like I said, I just want to crawl inside this book and live in it. And it's a sort of a derisive book here on BookTube. There are many, many people who like myself, love this book, there are also many, many people that can't stand this book. If you are a person that likes a very plot-heavy book, this is not the book for you. If you are into really deep character study, this isn't so much for you. But if you, like myself, are unrepentantly in for the all vibes style book that is all about just beautiful descriptions and the creation of a setting or a place, then this is probably a book you should check out. Now, how in the world did I DNF it? Hard DNF it and nope out of the book if I love it so much. I have legitimately read this book 5 or 6 times. I don't think that there are any books in this world that I have read as many times as I have read this book because I love it so, so much. So how did I DNF it? How did that happen? Let's take a step back again. Many of us like to listen to audiobooks, myself included. I am a recent discoverer of how wonderful audiobooks can be. I first started to appreciate audiobooks when I was taking a literature course, and it was really difficult, challenging, thick classics, and just found that it was a lot easier to get through them and study if I listened to the audio. So it started with Moby Dick, and then it went on to The Scarlet Letter and other books like that. And there are a lot of people that love audiobooks for a variety of different reasons that I'm not going to go into. But what I did want to talk about is that there are different styles of audiobooks. So for some of you, this may be new information. For some of you who maybe even have been listening to audiobooks for a long time, have never really quite understood what the different types are and had them explained. So hopefully this will be entertaining and also educational for everyone. So there are audiobooks where there is a full cast, and that is like listening to a radio play, basically. And what happens there with this full cast is that there will frequently be a voice that is the narrator, and if it's a first-person narration, then that obviously is one of the characters, is that narrating voice. And then there will be actors reading the dialogue of each of the characters. I've come across a couple of these that I really thought were very good. One was The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman, which is book 1 in his Dark Materials series. The other one was actually Devolution by Max Brooks, which is a book about a Bigfoot encounter. As part of the book, or part of the book is told through radio interview archives. And so in the book, these are transcripts of radio interviews that are done by NPR personalities. And in the full cast recording, they actually got the NPR reporters that were listed in the transcript in the book. Listed in the transcript in the book, they actually got those NPR folks to do the reading as part of the full cast. So I thought that was really cool. It's one of the better audiobooks I've listened to, even if it's, not particularly like a favorite book. It's a pretty good book. So that's the full cast. So going from that, then sometimes you'll have casts where there's a couple of folks. So some examples of this would be where there is a book with a dual perspective. A lot of times they do this in romance novels where it's one chapter's one half of the couple's perspective, the next is the other side of the couple's perspective. And so what they will do a lot of times in these, there's 2 different ways that they kind of do it. One is that they just have one actor who does the narration and the voice of the perspective character in the chapters that are that character's perspective, and then just reads the dialogue of the other person, and then they switch when it's the opposite chapter. So the other person in the couple will read the narration and do their voice in the dialogue, but also read the dialogue of the other person, and then wouldn't put on a voice as the other characters. They would just do a flat read of the dialogue of other characters. Then they will sometimes choose to just have the two read their dialogue. So maybe they'll have like a third person that is just doing the narration, and then they'll have person one from the couple read that person's dialogue, and person two from the couple read their dialogue. Or one of them will be the narrator and do the voice of that person, and then have this other person do the voice of the second character in the couple, or the duo of whatever situation. So an example of one of these that's not a romance novel is, I think, the audiobook of Babel or Babel by R.F. Kuang, depending on how you pronounce it, Babel or Babel. There are, I think, 3 different people that are part of the voice cast. There's the narrator, and then there is a woman's voice, and I didn't realize this when I was actually listening to it until I was about a third of the way in. At first, I just was very confused about why the voices were changing. There's a female narrator that's reading the footnotes, because that book has a lot of footnotes with annotation information. And I guess I haven't seen the physical book. I've only read it with the audiobook. And then there is a second male, the main narrator's male, and then there's another man who I think reads just some of the pronunciations. Like I said, it was very confusing when I went into that book, not knowing all of that. I wish that they would have done some like brief introduction in the audiobook. It might have been in the description, but I didn't see it because I didn't read the full description. I knew what the book was about, and I knew that I wanted to listen to it, so I didn't check that. But it would have been nice if, like, at the beginning, they would have said, like, read by so-and-so with footnotes by so-and-so and pronunciation by so-and-so. That would have been cool. So that's an example of kind of like the duet or dual style where it's not a full cast. And then there are the single narrator. So they just have one voice, one actor, one reader, and there are kind of 3 basic styles of doing this, where there's the fully voiced, which is when the narrator reads the narration, but the dialogue for each of the characters, they have an inflection or a style of reading for each separate character that would be distinct for each separate character. Then there is the partially voiced, where it's like main character or protagonist, or main characters or protagonists would maybe have their own distinct voice, but minor characters would just be read flat. And then there's unvoiced, when it's just a flat narration and they just read through it. So those are the basic styles of audiobook. And so getting back to how I ended up DNFing my favorite fucking book. How did I end up DNFing my favorite book? I have, like I said, read this book like 5 or 6 times. I am a rereader. I do love to go back to books that I love and read them again and again and again. And the many times that I've reread The Night Circus, there are different things that have stood out to me. And a lot of times when I first read something, I am reading more for that first experience, that first impression, and I don't go in my head too deep into breaking things down and analyzing them. And so on rereads, I notice more things and make more connections with themes and whatnot. the Night Circus is got like a color scheme to it that is this black and white color scheme, which obviously it's an aesthetic that I appreciate. And one of the things I didn't notice until the third or fourth time that I read the book is also all of the references to chess. And it is a competition where there are these two magicians facing each other, ostensibly. And so there's a lot of imagery and whatnot of chess and black and white. And I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty effing cool. And I never noticed it before. How did I not notice it before? Well, because I was getting wrapped up in like thinking, oh my gosh, that ice garden sounds amazing. The way she's describing the smell of the popcorn. I want that popcorn. All of those things, right? So I love this book so much. And the other day I was scrolling through my Library Libby app on my phone, which is how I consume audiobooks, and saw that they had available The Night Circus on audiobook. And I thought like, oh, that'd be cool. A new way of experiencing this book that I already love, that I've read so many times. There was actually a brief hold for it. And so I put myself on the list to be the next up to get the book and waited. And then one day got the notification that it was available and I checked it out. I borrowed it. The audiobook of The Night Circus is a fully voiced single narrator, single actor style audiobook. The actor who is the narrator is a fellow by the name of Jim Dale. This is not a bash on Jim Dale. Like, I'm sure he's great. I checked on the Libby app and saw that he has many other audiobooks that he's done. Seems like he primarily does children and young adult books, and a lot of them are fantasy. He actually was the voice on the audiobooks for the Wizard books written by She Who Will Not Be Named. So this is a person that obviously has an extensive career. He's not an amateur. And like I said, I'm sure he's a lovely person. This is not a personal attack on him or anything. But it's my favorite book that I have read 5 or 6. Have I said this enough times that I've read this book 5 or 6 times? Like, there are parts of it that I fully have memorized. So all the times that I've read it, I've had my own idea in my mind of not just how that popcorn smells, not just how that ice garden looks, but the way that the characters sound in my mind. And so I'm listening, and Jim Dale is an older gentleman, or at least he has the voice of an older gentleman. So at first I was like, oh, this will be cool. This will be like having your grandpa read you a story. My grandpa never read me stories. He wasn't that kind of grandpa. Whatever. But it kind of reminded me of The Princess Bride, where grandpa comes to read the little boy the story because he's homesick from school. Cool. I thought that would be great. I was really looking forward to it. So, the first chance I got, I settled in, got myself all set up, and hit play, and was listening to this nice grandfatherly gentleman read The Night Circus. And then I realized that it was a full-voiced style, and that he was doing voices for the different characters' dialogue, and that seemed fine. But then they got to the little girl's voice. One of the magicians is introduced when she's a very small girl. She's about 5, I think. And the story follows as she's brought up and trained into being the magician that she becomes. But at the beginning of the book, she's a 5-year-old girl. And I will say, I didn't really like Jim Dale's little girl voice that he did for this character. And there are lots of different characters, lots of different voices, and again, I have an idea of what they should sound like in my head. And in particular, one of my favorite characters in the entire book, which is not the little character, or the little girl that was first came up in the book, that I didn't really like the voice that he did for her. But it is another little girl, and her name's Poppet. And Poppet comes up later in the book, and in that moment that I heard him do this other little girl's voice, oh no. Oh no. That would not do. So I quit. I quit. I like I said, I noped out of it so hard and so fast. There was no way. It was not happening. I could absolutely not. I had no desire to hear this gentleman voice Poppet. So, yeah. So that's how I DNF'd my favorite book. Do you read audiobooks? Do you listen to audiobooks? Do you enjoy them or not? What do you like about them? Have you been aware of these different styles before? Did you know what they were kind of called? Have you thought too much into this or at all, or noticed it very much? Is there a particular style that you prefer? I personally think that there are different styles that suit different books. And I would say with the Night Circus, because it has such a varied cast, it would be kind of challenging to pull that off with just a single person doing it fully voiced, like the one that is available. In particularly because there's some young girls, and it's, you know, kind of hard, or it could be kind of hard for people, not just myself, I'm assuming, to get into it. And I also know that there are people that love this audiobook. Someone was just saying on a Discord that I'm part of the other day that they love this audiobook. So maybe they're watching this right now and now they hate me. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, there will be more details and links in my description. I will add some more information about Jim Dale's other works. I may go out of my way to try and check out some other books that Jim Dale has narrated. Obviously not those wizard books, because God, I never want to read those again. Yeah, follow me on socials, check me out on Storygraph or Goodreads if you want to keep track of my reading. If you're not subscribed yet, please consider doing that. Share, like, etc. And until next time, read well. Seems like he primarily does children's and young adults books. It seems like some of the there was also or reading the dialogue of each